Good afternoon. It is Saturday, March 6th. We're going to be going over some charts. This is going to be the members weekend watch list. And so these are the charts that people had sent me. And so we are going to run through these really quick. This is Patrick and you're trading with Prime. Before we get into it, I just want to share with you guys, while we go over these charts and things that I do like in the morning time before the market opens or at nighttime planning for the day ahead, all I have to say is I'm looking for certain things and certain signals that the market is going to give me. And I try to discern what those things are. And what I do is I try to have a trading plan designed for each scenario that plays out, because we don't know if the market's going to open up, rocket down a little bit or drop like a rock and then rocket away from a price point or price area, versus we don't know if the market's going to gap and continue running higher. We don't know if it's going to gap down and continue selling off. We want to have a, let's call them Qs. If the market does A, which is any stock that we're trading, if it does A, we're going to then do these three things, right? And we have to have a plan for each scenario because we don't know what the market is going to give us. Now, for swing traders, it's the same kind of principle as far as if the market does this, we're going to do this. Sometimes for me, if the market does something, I'm going to sit back and not do anything. I'm just going to let it go without me. I'm not chasing it, especially when the market gaps higher. I'm not chasing that price momentum. So let's get into your guys' charts. The first one that was sent to me was GS. We'll try to do this every Saturday. We'll go ahead and do this new members watch list every Saturday. If you guys aren't members of Ride the Bull, feel free to check it out in the description of the video, where we go over charts and really try to help out the members. And for you guys who are just on YouTube, we definitely want to help you guys. Feel free to join us on Sundays at 5 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. Again, the link of the website is in the description, and we do have a free side to that, and you can always shoot me a direct message and I will help you out as much as I can. Excuse me. Okay. Let's start with GS. What do we see on the daily? What do we see on the daily chart for starters with GS? We see this price area down here, which all of this, you see this consolidation, and then we broke out of this. As far as when this was, look at the time frame. This was end of October coming into November. And the March lows, you can see, were pretty far away. March lows were around $134.04. And so we do see this breakout, and you see this massive run up. And a lot of people thought that this area in here was going to be the top. To be honest with you, I thought it was going to be a top personally. But we want to see what the chart does. We want to see that what the price action gives us. And just looking at GS, what it looks like the chart is doing is it's aiming for all-time highs again. I don't know if I like this pullback as far as the closing price. I would rather it have been higher. We are pretty extended here, so I would not be surprised to see this consolidation pattern like we see right now. This is just consolidation. As long as price stays in this price area, and I can kind of give you a price. Let's do this. Let's go to the measuring stick here. To be honest with you, price could really stay above 308. I wouldn't be surprised if price came back down to this level and back tested. But again, like I was saying in the beginning of the video, we want to have these measurements on the chart. That way, if the price does shoot down here, we can go ahead and try to scalp that, pick up some shares. Would I be a buyer at these prices? I don't think so. Not without consolidating more. I would want to see more sideways consolidation or consolidation in price going down like this, like some sort of dip and then rallying higher. But right now it looks like it wants higher prices. It looks like it wants to go challenge the all-time highs again. I just don't know if I'd necessarily be a buyer in this area. I hope that helps. I also don't see anything on the chart that would give me an indication to have some sort of short trade. The only thing that would is, let's say price came all the way down here and then closed the day at the lows. Now we have a candle that we could use the high of a price area. We could short against that high, meaning if price rallied up to the high, we could put an order in to short the stock and using that high as the stop loss. But for now, it's in a massive uptrend. I don't know if I would just go ahead and step in front of that and then, maybe give it some time before you pick up shares. Let's look at CAT. And this applies to swing trading. This does not apply to long-term investing, which if you guys want more information on that, we can talk about it Sunday. CAT, same kind of scenario. It looks like it wants to challenge the all-time highs just looking at the daily chart. The same thing, you kind of see this massive run up from the March lows. You could try to draw some trend lines in here and say that, this is where you have to be very careful. Like, sure, there's a trend in here. Would I want to be a buyer here? for those of you who bought on Friday, well done. But I wouldn't personally be a buyer at these prices. But like I was saying, you could expect that one day price might trade sideways and then float back down to this area before maybe given a dip buy opportunity. But that's the thing is again, I'd want to see a lot more consolidation here as far as price. If I go to the weekly time frame, I mean, we're getting pretty straight up there, right? Let's zoom in just like this. I mean, this is a pretty massive run up. So if you were looking for a short trade, I would definitely wait for the reversal candle on a daily chart, which we do kind of see one up here. I'll kind of circle that reversal candle. This technically is a reversal candle, and it did work out for a little while. You see this little bit of a downtrend, but to be honest, it really, all it did is it went back and back tested this breakout area, and now we are having higher prices in here. So definitely something to keep an eye on. And then one more thing about CAT. We have to think about overall the bigger picture, right? Like as far as market rotation, CAT is one of those stocks that likes to trade with the transports. And so if I go over to, and same with like BA, you know, there's a lot of stocks that trade with the transports, but let me do the transports really quick. And now here you can see how that kind of looks similar to CA or CAT. One thing to keep in mind though, for the stocks that like to trade overseas, let's go back to CAT. For the stocks that like to trade over the seas, for one, CAT likes to run with the financials and the transports. They kind of run together, which means your casinos, your hotels, your banks, your transports, they all kind of run together. And CAT is one of those companies that sells a lot of products overseas. A bigger picture perspective is with higher and higher inflation, it might not be so well for a company like CAT. So you would expect a little bit more profit taking or pullback or rotation out of these industries and into other industries. And you'll start to see this rotation across the markets. So that's something to keep in mind is the dollar, as we see more and more inflation, government puts out more stimulus, maybe the dollar rallies a little bit more, maybe it then begins to sell off. I don't really know. I don't want to try to predict that, but let's move on from that. Okay, so NNDM. Absolutely amazing run up. These are the kind of trades that I like taking. I don't like trading this run up itself. I like to let the run up happen, and then you see a double top in here and then it sells off. But the type of steep sell off correction that this is something that I personally would want to get involved in. Unfortunately, I think that time was on Friday. And the reason why is if I zoom into this area of the chart, let me do this and pull it down a little bit tighter. And what I see here right off the bat is I see this consolidation area in here, and you see it where it got through resistance and then it broke out. So what I see right now on the chart is if I follow my cursor, if you can see how it broke out around 660, and if I draw a line across the screen right here and pull it all the way back, you can see how it went back and back tested that breakout from back there. The problem is maybe it would have back tested this breakout and it didn't. It fell through that area. In fact, it's falling through all the areas that I would think that maybe the buyers would show up. And those other areas that we see the buyers possibly show up, it worked out for a couple days. So for something like this, it is worth, I think, the bounce trade, and you do see a little bit more volume. I think that we could go long on this name. Just keep in mind that you might see consolidation down here, and if you do, I don't know if I'd want to stay in a trade as it's consolidating above resist or above support. I would want to take the trade going out of or breaking out of and creating higher highs. Just keep in mind you're going to have some sort of resistance up here. There's a gap in here, and then there's probably resistance at just above $10 pivot. This gap is around 888, so you can expect resistance there. And then again, like I was saying, probably around $10.40. I would expect some resistance, maybe even around $9.80. If it can clear all three of those areas, I know that's pretty far away. If it can clear those areas, I think this thing could run, maybe we will get a run up to $10, which doesn't look like it's a big move on the chart, but that is like 30%. So to $10, it's 33%. So that's enough money to make the bounce trade worth it. As far as a short trade, I think the time to short would have been way up in this area when it broke down through. If I highlight this, you see the double top. The double top, it is never really a double top, by the way, guys. It's never a double top, and a lot of people call these double tops. They're really not until they break down past the neckline. Then once it breaks the neckline, you can then begin to target lower prices. So you kind of knew up in this area up here that this was a good short once it fell through support. I just don't know if I would have taken that trade, to be honest. But yeah, as far as right now, it's not necessarily bullish. But if I go to the weekly time frame, maybe it'll look a little bit different. Now you can see it just being a pullback, right? So if you put the whole picture in perspective, this run up and then this just looks like a pullback, right? And if it does get through, maybe we will start to see higher and higher prices. If I zoom in like this, now it shows us the pullback, right? But on the weekly time frame, it doesn't look like a reversal candle. On the weekly time frame, it looks like it wants to sell off more. But that's something to just be mindful of and kind of pay attention to. Just keep referring back to the weekly time frame, higher time frames as possible. Let's go to BNGO. Okay, BNGO, same kind of scenario. I like this chart. Same thing, we're looking at a weekly time frame. So this, of course, looks like a pullback. If I zoom it out a little bit and I can see clear all the way back here to 2018, now it looks like I don't want to use the word pump and dump like it is a pump and dump, but this is that's what the chart looks like. Not to say that the company is. I don't know anything about the company. Daily chart looks healthy. A run up, we had a massive run up, and let's do a drawdown. So we ran up 2,670%. And so it's to be expected that you would have a pullback in here of 64%. That's a good 60% area is a good area to start adding to. I usually would wait for those big pullbacks. The problem with a chart like this, just like we saw last time, is you have a reversal candle right here and it worked out for a day. I would imagine higher prices would have been ordered here, but that's not what happened. It just rolled over. So it is possible that this reversal candle can simply just roll over. So it's another thing is I would want to wait for higher prices. Maybe wait for it to get above this $8 mark before we became a buyer. Maybe you'll see it do something like this, breakout, back test, some sort of higher highs, higher lows type of scenario. And the way you can see how this one did it, where it ran up and it created higher highs, higher lows, right? You kind of see it on this side of the chart as well. So I would personally be looking for that in BNGO. MRUL, or is it MR? Let's look at it. MR, maybe it's MRVL. MRVL, I love it. I love the reversal candle on the daily chart. It looks like it's at support. And if I do the support, I could draw it like this. As you can see, that was prior support. And then the buyer stepped in and rallied price away from that area. That's how you know it's a really good support. And so this was good. I don't like how it's below the 200 period moving average on the daily time frame. I would want price to get above that 200 period. Not that the 200 itself is meaningful. It's just that if I look to the left, go across the screen to the left side of the chart, and you see this consolidation period in here, I want to see, and especially this resistance right here, which I'll highlight this pivot right here. I'd want to see price get above that area and then start creating higher highs, higher lows. If it fails to do that and it can't get above this candle right here, like let's say it wants to hit this gap, there's going to be a lot of resistance at that gap, most likely under normal circumstances. So I'd want it to get above the resistance point first and then start doing something like this. So keep that in mind. Let's see here. Let me zoom out a little bit. Marvel. Okay. So higher time frame. Let's go back to the weekly time frame and check it out. Weekly time frame, it looks very ugly. It looks like it could pull back and start selling off even more. I don't like the weekly close. I don't like the weekly candles. As you can see here, and this is something as far as technical analysis goes, you see a high up here. You see one red candle, two red candles. Each candle that turns red is getting bigger and bigger on, here's the first one, here's the second one, here's the third one, heavier volume. I don't like that. It's supposed to be going the other way. Although the volume picking up like this might start turning into capitulation volume, we don't have the evidence just yet on the weekly time frame. So going back to the daily, you could play this as a, you're long against this price area right here, and I'll give you a price of, the low of Friday was 37.92. So now what we're looking for is we're either looking for a retracement of that low, and it doesn't have to go all the way down there. It could go halfway down, maybe all the way down, maybe a quarter of the way down. Maybe it gaps higher on Monday and starts rallying. If it does gap higher on Monday, just like I was saying in the beginning of the video, if it gaps higher and starts rallying on Monday, I don't know if I would necessarily chase price. Okay, NIO. NIO, I like the daily chart. Let's take a look at the weekly time frame first, just out of curiosity. I don't like the weekly time frame. It looks like it could have much lower prices. I think the daily is acceptable for a reversal candle. It went down and tested the 200 period moving average. And just like a lot of the charts we've already seen, NIO was up 1,995%. So a little bit of a pullback here is probably healthy, especially in price. We're down 51%. I would like to have seen a little bit lower prices in NIO, maybe even coming all the way down here to 29.52 area. or let's just call it 30 bucks. I would have been a buyer all day at 30 bucks. I don't like how it only came down to 31.90. I think that it could have came down a little bit more, but I do want to stress this is that this is acceptable volume as far as reversal. This was the 200 period that went down and tested. This is a reversal candle. So I think we could play all three scenarios as bullish, even though this isn't a pretty monstrous downtrend from these dates back here. I think overall bigger picture perspective for this kind of a run up, maybe it was just a back test. I do like that pattern developing. So now what I'm looking for is a retracement. I mean, again, it doesn't have to go all the way down. It doesn't have to go halfway down. It could even go a quarter of the way down. One thing is for sure, as long as price stays above Friday's low, it can be a bullish scenario. Getting back down near Friday's low, if we go back down there, let's say Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and we start doing this consolidation, I would not want to stay in the trade. In fact, to be honest with you guys, if price consolidated like this underneath $40, I would not want to be in the trade under the only scenario where if price consolidated and then made a higher low, then I would be interested in taking a trade out of that $40 price area. AMD. AMD, same thing. We see a reversal candle on Friday. We actually have a trade in AMD right now. I believe we took the, let me tell you guys what we took here. And we did have a trade alert sent out on NIO. Let's take a look here. So, I'm sorry, not NIO, AMD. $95 call for April 16th. We have, I just picked up 10 of them and I got them for 66 cents each. And the current price is 69 cents. So we're not up a lot. We're only up about 4.5%. I would want to see a little bit more behavior. The reason why I chose April is because I was a little bit late in the trade and I want to give it a little bit more time because we could see a little bit of consolidation. For those of you guys who have been following me for a while, I've been calling for $100 for quite a while now. I don't think $99.23 is all the chart has to offer us. I think that we will see the run up to $100. Now, as far as right now, I'm not calling for the $100. I just, know in your heart, I know in my heart, or I believe in my heart that this is not it, that I think there's going to be higher prices. But again, I don't know with a time frame on that. That could be in 6 months. It could be in a year. But as far as the weekly time frame, I don't necessarily like this weekly bar. I do like Friday's reversal. I don't like the weekly bar. There is going to be resistance up here around $85 to $86.50, let's say. There's definitely going to be some resistance up there. As far as the daily chart, I do like this price action where it sells off, it rallies, and it sells off. I don't know if you guys ever follow market symmetry, but that looks pretty close to price measured move without actually getting a measuring stick out and drawing it for you guys. But overall, like you see this bearish consolidation in here and then it sold off again. That's kind of what we want to see for a finishing move. And as far as support and resistance, if I drew this across the screen, you can kind of see why it went back down there. This was also a previous breakout areas I marked right here. So it's ideal for this price to want to come back down there and retest that zone back there. As far as time period goes, that's a pretty good time because we're several weeks removed from that timing on the chart. And the last time that happened, you did see there was a lot of institutional participation in the volume. So I do think that higher prices are in order. Stop loss in this one would actually be just below the low of Friday, which the low of Friday was $74.20. So maybe a stop loss around $74 or $74.15. Price can always do this. And this is one last thing for you guys for the technical analysis side. Price can always on the intraday shoot down below a stop loss area and back, if you're a swing trader, back on the daily chart, if price closes back above your stop loss, you technically shouldn't be stopped out of the trade, right? So we're not actually putting in stop losses. We're doing psychological stop loss. So love AMD. We'll see what happens this week. I don't want to call it one way or another, but we do have a trade. I'll let you guys know how that is going. JMIA. Oops. JMIA. Okay, so same kind of scenario. And you guys noticing a pattern here on all these charts? I do see a lot of daily reversals in a lot of the charts across the board. That's a pretty good, healthy sign. And first thing I kind of notice here is you see consolidation right here. You see that this is a possible area of a breakout. And then I want to highlight one candle for you guys because there's something else that catches my eye. Is this candle right here is technically a breakout candle. It took out the highs of the previous several candles and it's challenging. It's not breaking out this area over here, but this consolidation pattern in here, and then it breaks out on heavier than normal volume. That definitely catches my eye. So what do I kind of see? Put that together with, let's draw the line straight across the support right along. And then you have this major pivot right in this area right here, where the same thing, price came back tested and rallied. Again, we're several weeks, if not months. This is January 4th. We're several or a couple months removed from timing. So as far as this time period in here, it was probable that we would find some sort of support in that area, at least intraday. One last thing, we're going to talk about the broad market on Sunday, and we're going to talk about the scenarios. And those scenarios, depending on how the broad market plays out, can continue pulling all of these charts down if there is a market snap. And for my viewpoint on whether the market's going to crash over the weekend, going into Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday, or this next week, tune in on Sunday. Let's go over to UAL. UAL, just like we saw with the transports and the what was the CAT, you saw the airlines took a little bit more of a hit, or a lot more of a hit. On a weekly time frame, this probably looks like a bear flag, so I'll do this. It technically is still kind of a bear flag. You see this flag pattern in here after a huge down move. So I would not be surprised to see another huge move, although I don't think that that's going to happen. I think that it's something to be aware of. Let's go to the daily. Daily chart is looking pretty good. I like this pullback in here, and you can kind of see how it rallied up here, pulled back. I would have wanted the price to come down a little bit more as far as what was the reason for this coming back and back testing. Well, I do see this pattern on here. Let's do this. Now it makes sense, right? You see where the price has reacted with this area for a while, now pulled back, and it finally broke out. It back tested it once, but we don't have a lot of time in here where we're several days or weeks or months removed. We have that was a couple weeks ago, and now you saw this back test. So again, you can be long all day long on this name. You can absolutely be long. I don't know if I'd want to be involved just yet, unless maybe we got some sort of consolidation more and then a breakout above this resistance. There's going to be a little bit of resistance there, and that's around $54.76. Unless you already got in this. If you're already in this from down here at the lows or halfway up the candle, or previous price areas, or you got this in your long term, I don't think there's any reason to sell. I think you could just ride this out. It's already come down here once, so you can expect that if it keeps coming down here, knocking on the door, I would not expect this support to hold. Let's go to ZM, last one. Zoom looking pretty ugly on the daily chart. You can see that overall, if I put it on weekly time frame, this looks pretty nasty this last week. In fact, let's do that. Weekly time frame, reversal candle at the lows, closing near the lows, close near support. I would think that it would be a lot higher probability to have lower prices in Zoom. Something I want to say about Zoom though also is that Zoom has changed. Well, the coronavirus and pandemic have changed the world, the way we operate, the way we do things, the way that maybe we don't travel as much anymore because we do everything over Zoom. Something to really think about too, though, is that Zoom, there's going to be a lot of other companies, and there already is a lot of other companies, or there already are several companies that can compete with Zoom and can create and have created probably better software programs to do online meetings. Although Zoom is very easy to use, it's extremely easy to use, and so I think there's a huge future for Zoom. But as far as this weekly time frame goes, I would want prices to come a little bit lower. I'd be willing to be a buyer down in this area, and that's pretty far away. As far as the weekly time frame goes, you see the lower highs in there. The other way to look at this though is that this is one giant bull flag, bullish consolidation. We're staying above these prices from the recent run up, so maybe we will see a continued move out of here to 650. I'm not saying that that's what's going to happen. I'm just trying to point out the two scenarios. You could just draw support and resistance on the chart and say you're willing to take a trade out of this if it gains traction, or you're willing to be a buyer at support. Let's go back to the daily time frame. It is technically a reversal candle on Friday. Something that's also possible, I'll leave you with this, is that when we see these reversal candles where it comes back and back test support, sometimes price likes to run back up and back test these breakdown candles. So maybe price wants to get to this area, or maybe it wants to back test this up here, which would give you the nice little trade if you did get going in there. You could see how this develops. If it can get above this price area here, which is around 386.35, if it can get above that resistance, it definitely will probably head on up here to 440. So if you're in this trade, you could stay in the trade just knowing full well if we get below Friday's low, that might be a good area to take a stop loss. That's it for now. If you guys like the video, feel free to hit the like button. If you are new here, feel free to hit the subscribe button, bell notification. We go live on Sundays, and we will see you guys in the next video.